this is going to be part one of working on the Dodge. As you can see, it fits quite snugly in my garage. So what I just got is this guy. So this is just a Proforged track bar. The reason I got this one, let's see, sorry about that, it's because it uses the stock ball joint mount, which is right up there. And I wanted to do that. There are some other kits that use a Heim joint instead, which is a lot stronger, but they're like 500 bucks. So for now, I'm just gonna have this one on there. This one was like 125, somewhere around there, because it uses that same one. I was actually pretty impressed with how they packaged it and everything. I did see a couple complaints on the cotter pin being too, the hole being drilled too high, and the cotter pin just sitting above it. So if that's the case, I'll probably stack the old cotter pin on top, or stack the old nut on top of it, or thread it on like upside down. That way it'll lock it in regardless. So yeah, I'm gonna get started on taking the old one off. I've seen some people do it without actually removing the wheels and tires. I'm kind of sketchy about doing that because I don't know if you can tell, there's not much clearance between my roof and the garage door. So I may jack it up. We'll see what happens. Yeah, there's some people who they'll take it off and then they drive back and forth or something, and it's supposed to straighten your axle out or center it or something. I might try that and just get it to where I can limp it over to an alignment shop and then have them take care of the rest of it. You can see from the angle of this ball joint right here from my tie rod end that I do need to get a drop pitman arm on there, because that angle is not good for steering. That creates a lot of slop, and you can also see I need to get some shorter sway bar links because it's quite close to my tie rod end. Hopefully those haven't collided at any point. But yeah, I will get started taking that off. I'll take little videos showing what the process is. Okay, so the first thing you want to remove is this bolt right here. It has this tabby on the back, which is the nut, so that actually keeps it from rotating. So all you have to do is get what size is this? 11/16 inch, or I think an 18 mil also works for it. I might need a breaker bar for this guy. Okay, so bolt that's going to come out is like this. Tab with the nut looks like this. You want to keep those because they are not supplied with at least this kit. This kit just comes with a Zerk fitting for greasing the ball joint, the cotter pin, the castle nut, as well as a dust cover boot for the ball joint. So you don't have to worry about your suspension like falling over on you or anything with these, because the track bar just guides it up and down. But you can see the bolt goes in right there. The tab goes in the bottom through this little hole right there. And next one is going to be the bolt on top of this track bar, on top of the ball joint. So that one has a castle nut. It's kind of hard to see at that angle, but it's right in front of the camera. There's a castle nut and a pin going through it, so you got to pull that out first. And then it'll be out. Well, then we have to get a big hammer, but yeah. Okay, so castle nut is off, pin is out. Now I'm just going to smack this guy down. Normally you wouldn't want to use a hammer and just smack that, but I don't care about these threads because I have a new track bar, and that ball joint is pretty much hammered. So, alright. Well, it was an adventure getting the ball joint to pop out. You can see it sitting right there now. It was up in there. But what I had to do was I put a 2x4 underneath the sway bar, and then on top of it, and I jacked it up from this side and then smacked it with a hammer, because I don't have a 5-pound sledge or even a 2-pound sledge. So it took a little extra oomph. Didn't snap the 2x4, because that's good. That's my roommate's. Now, they said you like drive back and forth to align it or something like that. I'm gonna just take some measurements from the knuckles to the frame rails, figure it out from there, and then I'm gonna do a little sketch showing how I figured out what length this guy needs to be in order to fix my steering geometry. So, all right, this next one's going in. Okay, so there's the old one. It's pretty mucked up, pretty nasty. Drove it back and forth a little bit. Definitely, the steering wheel feels weird without that thing being in there because the axle is going like this, back and forth. So I'm gonna slap the new one in with it sitting on the ground at this height, and then hopefully that's correct. If there are any issues with it, I'm just gonna tighten it. My alignment's definitely gonna be off a little bit, but I'm gonna take it to an alignment shop tomorrow, maybe tonight. What time is it? We'll see. Oh, and then I just want to show this guy off. All right, so I got this little number. So this little guy right here, I just wanted to do a quick review on this. Okay, so basically my pitman arm is right here, right? Loops down. My steering box is right here. This little assembly is basically just a brace for my steering box, because the steering boxes on these second gens are just awful. So it mounts right where your sway bar bolts in. It goes underneath the bracket. And basically all this is it's a nut that has a extrusion on it of, I think it's just 1050 or something like that. And then this big bearing attaches to this support, and then it's just a greased fitting. And I can tell you one thing, it helps a lot. The mounting bolts on this must move a freaking ton whenever you turn, especially having big tires. So I'd highly recommend. I got this one for like 58 bucks off car parts. Some people are trying to sell them for like 120. But it's like the most basic technology ever. You know, it's just a welded bracket, some angle iron, and a square tube. So, and these are like, they sell these bearings everywhere. So if you wanted to build one yourself, it'd actually be fairly easy. But yeah, it works great, and it took a ton of slop out of my steering. And this should be the last component that I need to put in to fix the rest of it. So yeah, I highly recommend getting one of these if you've got a second gen that the steering just feels awful, which is pretty much all of them. So, all right, I'm gonna put the new one in and adjust the length. Okay, and I just wanted to show a comparison between the new one and the old one. You can see the new one has, so the old one has this giant race. This one has a much larger bushing. You can see this section is much larger, but that's because these are adjustable, so they're reverse thread. Or this one's reverse thread, that one's normal thread. So to tighten or loosen it, all I have to do is twist this center section, which will make it nice because I don't have to undo that ball joint every time. The ball joint does look a little bit bigger, honestly, and the you can see is the necking. They have similar necking right here. Dang, can't see. Right here it loops. There's a little necking right there. It's about the same. This one is much thicker in this region right here, though, where the bend is. And then it has a square part on it. I don't know yet what that's for, but I'll figure that out. Okay, so I have this bolt loosely mounted in right here, so that I can adjust it. This nut is totally loose. This one is also totally loose. That way I can twist this and adjust the length. And then this guy just slides up into place right here where that little hole is. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Yeah, I'll grab that little light when I'm adjusting. Okay, so I got the nut on right there, and next thing I got to do is torque that one first before I do any more adjustments. So that guy I think is supposed to be 62 foot-pounds of torque, so not a huge number. So I'll torque that guy down and then do the adjustments, and if I need to move something, I'll pick my truck up by the frame and move it. So yeah. Alright, so I'm going to get that torqued and then put the pin through it, and we'll be on our way. Okay, so that guy is torqued in, cotter pin is in. Next step, this piece has a giant slot for a wrench on it, right here. This is harder to manage. So right here, if you can see it, right by the tip of my finger, there's a hexed portion to adjust this, and then there's obviously a nut on each end to tighten everything down. So I'm going to Loctite those. As of right now, it looks like I do have a good amount of thread in there. Might tighten it up a little bit, but yeah, I'm going to do some measurements. Basically, I'm going to measure from the knuckle, the portion of the knuckle that doesn't move, up to the frame, and then from there, I'll figure out how much it's off to one side or the other. I could also just look at the angle of my shock absorbers, but that is not totally accurate. So I'm going to do some measurements and see what adjustments need to be made. Alright, both sides are mounted. That side, the passenger side, was a doozy. Okay, so this little sucker has to be torqued to 180 foot-pounds. My torque wrench only goes up to 150, but I went up to 150, it clicked, and then I did a little bit extra. So, alright, that's done. Now I just have to adjust these nuts, tighten them up, and we'll be good to go for a little test drive. Hopefully the thing doesn't explode on me. I don't think it will. It looks like it's made fairly well. So, alright. Okay, so I just took some measurements. I took a measurement from my stop here to my block here. The stop right there. God, this is awful. Stop to the block here. And I was looking right at 9 inches to this lower edge right here. And on the other side, I was looking at 8.5 inches. So basically what that tells me is that the axle is actually shifted that way a little bit less than half an inch according to that if it was perfect. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is take that same measurement again, edge to edge, but I'm going to adjust this a little bit and extend the track bar just a little bit to the left here, to the passenger side, and then remeasure it. So we'll see how that ends up. Okay, so track bar is in. See, it's the actual shiny, nice looking piece under there. I got the alignment as good as I can for now. I don't really want to extend the track bar any farther because you can only be extended a certain amount before you run out of threads on it. So should be good. Yeah, I just need to grease that fitting. Just have to figure out where the grease gun is, but yeah. When you're greasing it, basically you just want to grease it till a little bit comes out around that edge. It'll come out the edge of the ball joint because you want a lot of grease in there, so it's not a bunch of metal on metal contact. And then yeah, I'm gonna take it for a spin and see how it drives, and hopefully everything goes well. So, thanks for tagging along. This is gonna go under the RAM playlist, and hopefully that'll do it. I'll go over a brief overview of what's on the truck already. So basically I have AFC Live on here. Keys ignition. Okay, so there's my AFC Live unit. So this is for the 12 valves. You have to have that in order to adjust your fueling, or you have to spend a whole bunch more money on fuel plates and stuff. So basically I put the mirrors of the wheels and the tires on it. I would not recommend getting this size tire. They've been kind of a pain and they don't wear correctly, but they do look cool. I do like the brand of tire. These are a Nitto Terra Grappler G2. So they work. They've actually they're super quiet. They're not loud at all. So I put the Fox shocks in it. You can see I just have a leveling kit, and then I put APOC front control arms on it, and those have worked pretty good. They give you a lot more clearance, and they fixed my alignment after I put the leveling kit in. The last piece was that track bar. So I've got the APOC, that's APOC control arms. Those are all greasable. And then the shocks, the leveling kit, and now the track bar, as well as the steering assist. So hopefully once I get my alignment and my tires rotate and everything, I'm not going to really be doing much on this because this is my daily driver. I don't feel like putting stuff on there that's going to break a whole bunch. And then it's just going to be the Chevy. Eventually with this guy I'd like to do head studs, and then put some bigger delivery valves, bigger injectors, adjust the timing a little bit, and put the 3K governor springs in it. because right now it fuels up to 2200 and then it gets to 2200 and then it'll just free rev to 3000. So I want it to fuel to 3000 and then it'll free rev to like 3200 or whatever. And then it'll work just fine. It's going to be just as reliable. So yeah, that is a wrap. I'll include a little section at the end talking about how it drives after this. Okay, so this is just going at the end of my track bar video. Basically, I've been driving it for 3 or 4 days, and I actually haven't gotten an alignment yet, but after doing the measurements, I did a quick and easy alignment, and it's way better. It's way less squirrely, and the tires actually look evenly spaced, because they do have a negative offset, but now they actually look in a line with each other, and it's great. It definitely rides a lot smoother. What was happening before was it was bottoming out on the ball joint, and so it would clunk a lot more. And then when I pulled the old one out, I actually realized that the ball joint was loose. Even though it was greased and everything, the metal was just gone. That ball joint was gone. And when you have a ball joint track bar, when you steer, your whole truck will actually shift the axle like back and forth while you're in the cab. And so the whole truck kind of felt like it would sway to one side or sway to the other, because that ball joint would jerk back and forth. And a small amount of slop with that ball joint, it's exponentially bigger when it comes, like it feels exponentially bigger when you're actually in the truck. But yeah, it's been great. I'd recommend it. Make sure if you do buy one that you use Loctite on the tightening nuts. I was reading some reviews. Some people didn't use Loctite, and when you're using that style nut, basically if there's too many vibrations, it'll just break loose. So you have to use Loctite. Some people were like, oh, this thing's garbage. And then they show a picture and they had no Loctite and the nut was all the way loose and the track bar just fell apart in 2 pieces. And you don't want to have that happen when you're going fast. But overall, it's been a pretty good product. If anything goes wrong with it, I'll definitely let you know.
Yeah.